I was looking for. Yeah. Oh, and you gave me a new life. You gave me a new mind, and you're taking me higher. And I'm walking in freedom. It's just what I needed, and you're taking me higher. Here's your part. Here we go. Sing. I found what I didn't know I was looking for. Ooh, you sound so good. Let's just refresh our memories. All together we sing it now. I found what I didn't know I was looking for. Good, that's so good. You sing it by yourself. I'm gonna sing over top of you. Here you go, sing it out. Sing. I found, yeah, what I was looking for. I didn't know it. You sing now. Hey, 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 oh, oh, you gave me a new life. You gave me a new mind, and you're taking me higher. And I'm walking in freedom. It's just what I needed, and you're taking me.
So get plenty of this, because you're going to give plenty of that. You want to give just joy to people around you. Want to find a little wonder, see the things that other people don't see. I know it sounds like I'm boasting, but my grandparents grew up in a castle. And so I grew up for half of my life in this castle. Now to everybody else, it was just a track house. But my grandparents told me they lived in a castle. And then to the chagrin of every neighbor in the neighborhood, they painted it bright pink with white trim. There was a drawbridge. It wasn't installed like this. It was on hinges, and you had to open the drawbridge. Well, it was a door, but it was like a drawbridge. They had fish made of gold. In their little pond, these are goldfish. I'm like, how do they float? They didn't even make their own meals. They had someone else prepare all of them. Now, those were TV dinners to most people, but it was Salisbury steak made for them. And I just grew up thinking my grandparents are loaded. That's what happens. It's called the suspension of disbelief. That's what happens when you watch a really good adventure movie. You're not actually in space. I'm sorry to be a buzzkill on Star Wars, but you suspend disbelief. You just go let's go into hyperspace, right? And it happens when you go to Disneyland, my place, right? You suspend disbelief. You just say, I think that's the most beautiful castle, even though it's only 27 feet tall. What I want you to do is suspend disbelief in some of the things that are happening around. We just get so beat up that we've forgotten about that, what it would feel like to just enter into whimsy, enter into wonder. And no better guide for that than Taylor Hughes. He's a guy who has just touched me. He's one of my teachers because he reminds me of who Jesus says we are. He reminds me of these bigger purposes. He allows me to suspend disbelief. Taylor Hughes, come on.
Friends, look at us. Look at you all on a Wednesday night. Come on. Oh my goodness, I got to come up here so I can see y'all. I got to see y'all. Wow. Can we give it up one more time for Megan Tibbetts? Wasn't that amazing? Wasn't that beautiful on the harp? So incredible. Oh, I love that. How many of y'all just wish you could do something like that? But you think about how much time it would take and you're like, I don't even get out of my pajamas in time. You know what I mean? The other day my wife called me, it was 2 p.m. and I was still in my pajamas and she's like, honey, I need you to pick up some stuff at Target. I just didn't feel like getting dressed, so I went to Walmart because they accept me there. When I was there, I realized this, friends. I realized that every week I buy 5 bananas. And every week I throw away 5 bananas. And I've been doing this for 20 years. Anyone else do this thing? It's just me. I'm just trying to see. No, some of y'all are more saved than I am. Okay. This is fun. This is so cool because when I was a kid, I went to a church where you couldn't have this kind of fun. How many of you all know it's okay to be a Christian and have fun? Would you agree with that? Yes? Perfect. Yes, I like to take the things of God seriously, but not take ourselves too seriously. And I have to preface that to explain some of the things I'm about to do in church. Let me just explain. People ask me all the time, they say, Taylor, what's the difference between a magician and an illusionist? And I know it's important, so I want to clarify it. It's exactly the same thing, just okay for church folks. Cool, okay. I became an illusionist on accident. I didn't even know that was a thing. Did you know that was a job you could do? No, my guidance counselor in high school gave me 5 options, and that wasn't one of them, no. In fact, I started doing this stuff because when I was a little kid, I was sitting in a theater with my dad, and there was a performer on stage, and he was so funny that afterward, I leaned over, I said, Dad, when I grow up, I'm gonna do stand-up comedy. Yeah, that's how he reacted, yeah. He said, son, that's a hard business. You're gonna need to make steady income. So naturally, I started doing magic shows. And that happened because my mom, that same year for Christmas, she bought me a magic set. And so I took it in the other room. I practiced a few tricks. I came back that day and I did my very first show for the family. In fact, I called her recently from the road. I said, Mom, did you have any idea when you bought me a magic set as a kid how much that was gonna impact my career and my life? And she said, no, honey, we would have got you a doctor's kit. So as a joke to my mom, I started traveling around with this doctor's bag. And then she said, you look like Alec Baldwin robbed Mary Poppins. So I don't know if I'll stick with it. All right, friends, here we go. Let's go back to when you were real little, back to when it was easy to wonder. For me, this is what I saw. Someone showed their hands. They were empty. There was nothing up the sleeve, so you knew you could trust them. Okay, I like the skepticism. It's cool. Here we go, watch. He began to wave a yellow handkerchief like this. The universal sign for a magic trick's coming. You don't see this anywhere else in life, do you? No. Maybe if you were leaving on a train in the 40s, you would have seen this. Not today. He ran it through his empty fingertips. He wiggled his fingers and he snapped, and all this did nothing. He just didn't want you to miss this moment where he took the yellow handkerchief. He stuck it in the top of his closed fist. Friends, it went into his hand yellow, but it came out the other side red. I know! I was a kid. I didn't know what I was seeing. My mind was blown. It went into his hand yellow, but it came out the other side red. It went in yellow, and it came out red. I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't know how it worked. All I knew is that at 7 years old, my life had purpose. Thank you. It's okay to applaud. It's not TV. I can see you. No, it's all right. It's okay. Let me come closer. I want you to see this. Hi, friends. How's it going? Okay, cool. Check this out. I watched him, and I said, how did you do that? And you know what he said? He said, I can't tell you. And I said, well, how did you learn? And he said, someone told me. What? Didn't make sense. He began waving it again, and I wasn't going to look away. This time I watched as he ran it through his empty fingers. He wiggled his fingers, and he snapped. But this time, he changed the whole game. He asked a friend right up front to name any color besides yellow, any color at all. Pink. He placed it in red, and this time it came out pink. He washed it with the whites. No, I'm just joking. Here we go. Watch. He placed it in, and it came out pink. But I couldn't figure that part out. Look, come on. We're at church on a Wednesday. You got to go to Vegas to see that. I don't know. Look, I had to guess. My only guess, friends, was this guy's using 2 handkerchiefs. So watch, I'm going to show you. This is the version I came up with as a kid, and I don't mind telling you, right? What do I care? I'll teach you. You ready? Step 1, you can do it. Step 1, find 2 handkerchiefs. It's really hard nowadays, but you can do it. Okay, step 2, this part's really important. They have to be different colors. Just trust me, sir, okay? You're going to put one down in your hand. I like to do this before you walk out in front of everybody. Hold on to the red one. You can do this in a quiet room in your house. Hold on to the red one, wave the yellow one, just act natural. No one will suspect a thing. If they do, don't get nervous. Just wiggle your fingers. Show them it really changed. And that's the first trick I ever saw. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. Oh, y'all are fun. Check this out. If you're going to try it, though, I'll be honest with you. You got to not underestimate the power of the wave. Really, look, watch. If I wave the handkerchief, here's what I notice. When you wave the handkerchief, no one looks at this hand. They're all watching this handkerchief. And then I noticed this. When you wiggle the fingers, they look at the fingers. They stop looking at the handkerchief. That's when you reach down in your pocket, grab the red one, roll it in a ball, stick it back in the bottom of your hand like that. Thank you, yeah. Okay, now if you're gonna do it, don't tell them you have two. Not impressive, okay? You gotta put a little yellow in and then pull out a little red. See how it looks like it's changing? You just put a little yellow, you pull out a little red. Don't put all the yellow in at once. People will forget what's happened. They gotta see half yellow, half red. And whatever you do, don't open your hand now. This would be bad. Because friends, if you did that, then they'd find out you had the wrong idea the whole time. And that's the first trick I ever learned. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, y'all are too kind. I'll tell you what, I won't make a big deal about it, but something happened, and I spent a lot of time at home last year. Maybe y'all noticed. I don't know if you've been watching, but something went on. And during that time, my wife and I realized pretty quickly, about 2 weeks into this experience we all had, my wife and I realized we've run out of stuff to talk about. We were sitting there at the dinner table. It was so sweet. We were there with my two girls. We got two lovely daughters, and it's me and my wife and my girls. And my wife says, "Honey, how was your day?" I was right there, you know? And then she's the one that had this idea. It was a brilliant idea. She made a little notepad, and I brought it with me here. It says this way up on the front. Oh, perfect. It says this way up on the front, and it's got on the pages. It's written different stuff. You can see there's different stuff on every page here. In fact, would you help me? Would you just say what that says, nice and loud? Think of any song. So what we would do is we would all go around and we'd share our favorite song, and sometimes we put the song on. We create a little jukebox on the radio. It was really fun. And then like this one says. Yeah, that one was kind of boring. That one wasn't so good. But you'll notice every page has something different on it. Just shout out as many as you can read as we go through. Song, actor, date, food. Yeah, lots of them. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start. I want to pass this around to a couple of you. If it comes to you, here's what I need you to do. You're not going to come up here, but just stand right where you're at, if you don't mind, okay? This is like when you grew up in church. Did y'all have the flannel graph? Anyone grow up with a flannel graph? Where is that thing? I love that thing. I need that if they had that on the news, I'd understand what was going on better. When I was a kid, we had a flannel graph. If you haven't seen it, it's a piece of felt, looks like a background, and they teach you about Jesus. And it was two-dimensional, so teacher had to get creative, right? Yeah, they wanted to put Jesus in the tomb, but they couldn't because it's two-dimensional. They just put like a rock on top of Jesus. Jesus had like an arm sticking out. Some kid in the back would be like, "Jesus is waving." That kid's mom would get real mad. Anyway, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have a few of you take a look at this. You're going to put one hand on top, one hand on bottom, stand up, and then when I ask you to, just take a peek at one. Any one you want, just cut down, take a look at one and only one. Don't tell me or anyone else what it says. Just think of that thing. It's like a secret for you, okay? And then we'll come back to you. Hi, what is your name? Erica, nice to meet you. Erica, can I toss this to you just right at your seat? Okay. You ready for it? Well, get ready. It's coming. All right. All right. I do magic, not sports in high school. This is the danger part of the show. Okay, here we go. Ready? And Erica, one hand on top, one hand on bottom, and just stand up right where you're at. Give it up for Erica, friends. Erica. All right, Erica, are you ready?
Yeah, I didn't listen to directions.
We'll recap. All right, here we go. Erica, you ready? Okay. I get this move. You sit in the front row, teacher thinks you're paying attention. It's okay. Okay. All right, Erica, you ready? Just open up to one page. Don't tell me what it is, but you open up to one and you read what it says. That's it, to yourself, quietly, the inside part. Okay, got it? Think of that thing? Perfect. Erica, just think of that, and then what you're going to do, you're going to toss that to someone you didn't come with. Now, this part's important, who's paying attention. Oh, you're a teacher? Oh, great. So you throw it and they're not ready. That's what killed Houdini. Okay, here we go. Erica's going to toss it to you. And then, Erica, if you just stay standing for a moment, you could toss it to someone. Heads up, friends. Here we go. There we go. Stand up right there. One hand on top, one hand on bottom. What is your name? I'm Eden. Eden, so nice to meet you. All right, Eden, here we go. Let me ask you this. If you had to pick one breakfast cereal to have for the rest of your life, what's it going to be? Fruit Loops. Who agrees? Yeah. Yes. That was a confident but very polite group of Fruit Loop lovers. Yes, I agree. I love it. I love Fruit. Not Captain Crunch. Watch this. Who loves Captain Crunch? Yeah, see, they're rowdy. They're rowdy. Yeah. I love Captain Crunch. I don't like what it does to the roof of my mouth. No, it's a war zone afterward. That's great. When I was a kid, we never had Captain Crunch because my mom was too cheap. We'd buy the cheap stuff. Who bought the cheap stuff when you were a kid, right? Yeah, 50-pound bag, just says oats. It's down by the dog food. Admiral Chomp, you know? Okay. All right, Eden, open up to 1. Take a look at what it says. Read that. Don't tell me. Don't tell anyone else. But then close it up, and you're going to toss it to someone else, anyone you want who's ready for it. Here we go. Oh my goodness, perfect, good throw, Eden. Would you stand up with me? One hand on top, one hand on bottom. Eden, would you stay standing for just a moment? And what is your name? Christy, nice to meet you. Christy, if you go to Starbucks or you find yourself there, what are you drinking? What are you getting? A cappuccino, just like that, no fancy, that is a good order. Anyone here live with someone who has the crazy order at Starbucks and they send you in to get it? She's like, put your hand down. I love it. I was at the airport, and I was going to say LA, but you'll know it was LA when I tell you this. The lady asked for the mist of 3 Splenda. Yeah. I said, what is that? She said, you shake it up, you open it, a little goes poof, but you don't put it in. Oh my goodness, okay. Let's have a word of prayer for my, all right. Are you ready? Open it up, take a peek at 1. Don't tell me what it says, but you look at it. You got it? And then I want you to throw that all the way back up here to me. We got this. Here we go. Give them all a bit. I told you. Sports. Okay. All right. 3 friends, 3 different thoughts. Keep thinking of those thoughts. Try to send the thoughts to me, okay? Here we go. If this works, don't be impressed. It's just what I was doing while everyone else was at prom. Here we go. All right. All right. I think I got some. Okay. I want to say one of you tonight, I feel like we're all over the place. One of you is thinking of a food, but I want to say it's a sometimes food. It's not a food you eat all the time, but whenever you eat this, it brings you joy. You're excited about it. One of you is thinking of a number. I want to say it's a PIN code. It's a 4-digit number. I don't know what it opens. Could be your phone or your ATM. It's an interesting choice either way. And one of you is thinking of a movie. Do not say what you're thinking, but just yes or no, give me a nod if I'm on track with something you might be thinking. Yes, yes, yes. I'll tell you what, close your eyes with me. I'll make sure no one messes with you, okay? We're in a safe space with friends. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna go with it. This feels weird, but the food is chicken and dumplings. The PIN code is 2487, and the movie is Mary Poppins. If I got what you're thinking, would you please sit down? Give them all a big round of applause, everybody! Friends, isn't it fun to wonder? Some of y'all are like, no, it's annoying. It's annoying to wonder. Wonder is annoying. Since I was a kid, I've been obsessed with one word. My favorite word in the English language is wonder. And my favorite word is wonder because I feel like wonder is one of the greatest gifts that God gave us, and it's missing. Years ago, we traded it for the internet. Friends, there was a time in your life when you didn't have all the answers at your fingertips. There were no supercomputers that we kept in our pockets that gave us the answers to anything we could ask. And because of that, well, you just lay on a blanket and stare up at the stars and you would think about deep life thoughts, you know, stuff like, do the people that make microwaves know we only use the add 30 seconds button? You know? For me as a kid, every single day, I would try to, play a game that would remind me of wonder. In fact, I brought a game that we can play. Y'all want to play a game? This will be fun. Now, don't worry. Don't get nervous about the game, and I'll tell you why. Because you know this game. You've played this game. Even though you don't know what the game is at this moment in time, your brain's going to start playing it in a second before you even realize what the game is. Because you've been preparing for this moment your entire lives. The game begins now. How many of you at some point in your life have played the Guess the Jelly Bean game? Yeah. How many of you have won? No one wins. Maybe you won. It could have happened. But if it happened, it was by accident, right? Because you just happened to guess the closest to the number without going over. Well, tonight I'm going to tell you how you can win this game almost every single time. Sound good? Perfect. To do this, we're going to need a few things. First thing we're going to need is a marker and a pad of paper. And we're also going to use a friend right here. Hi, what was your name? Jody, can I give you this? Would that be okay? We'll come back to you in just a little bit. Jody, we're also going to make this easy on all of ourselves. We're going to use a calculator, okay? Because let's be honest, I'm not doing math right now. I'm not about that at the moment, right? No, you either? Great. And can I just get this out of the way? Look, I've got 2 daughters. They are 13 and 16. I cannot do either of their math homework. But parents, stop complaining about the new math. You never knew the old one. We just have an excuse now. I don't know how the kids get away with doing homework. When I was a kid, the only way they got me to do homework is they said, you're not going to have a calculator with you everywhere they go. Look, they were wrong. Math is over. Okay, Jody, are you ready? We're in this. We got it. All right. Jody, I want you to start thinking of how many jelly beans you think might be in there. You don't need to write anything yet, but just think in your mind. Now, I'll give you a hint. There's more than 100, and there's less than 3,000. So somewhere between 100 and 3,000. Do you have a number in mind? Perfect. Don't say it out loud. I'd like you to type it just so that us here can see it. Type just the number you think. Go for it. It's okay if I see. Interesting. Okay, that's a good guess. I'm going to add another guess. Watch. I'm going to add to your guess this guess. So we're a little off, but that's okay. When we add them together, we get a new number. We're going to keep doing that. Someone give me a number. Right here on the end, what would you say if you had to take a wild guess? Give me a number. Yeah, shout it out. 1,000. 1,000 even? Okay, plus 1,000. Bigger number. Let's keep going. Over here. Right here. What is your name? Avery, what would you think? How many might be in there? 18. Oh, 1,800. Okay, plus 1,800. Great. Who thinks these guesses are too low? Who thinks they're too low? Yeah, I saw a hand right there. Shout out. What was it? 2,200? Okay, y'all are great on your even numbers. Plus 2,200. And let's get one more. Who thinks these numbers are too high? What would you say?
737.
Ooh, that's very nice. Okay, plus 737. And we're going to divide that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to divide that by 6. And that's going to give us the average. Jody, I'd like you to write that on that paper. Turn the paper sideways if you don't mind. Write it nice and big so people can see all the way up there in the balcony. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. That's wow. Did you used to work on Deal or No Deal? That was awesome. Thank you. Give it up for Jody, everybody. Wow. Okay. So this is interesting to me because, they've done studies on this. They've done studies to try to see with certain activities, if groups are better at certain activities than individuals, certain problems, individuals tend to work better on their own. But with certain things, you tend to work better in a group. And this falls in that category. Every time they've done a study like this with a group of people, when they take the average of all the guesses, the average number is almost always the closest of all of them to the right number. Isn't that crazy? Which is why, friends, I'm so happy to tell you that the bus got here early and I had a little time. So I counted those jelly beans. And you're not going to believe it. But there's exactly 1,486 jelly beans in that jar. Thank you. Good night. Thank you. Thank you. I just see a head shaking up there in the Lincoln booth. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'll tell you what. 1,486. We could count them now. What do you think? No, I really did count them, friends, and I didn't want to forget the number. So I wrote the number down and I put it in the envelope that's been attached to this jar since before anyone walked in the room. Tonight, 6 of you came up with a guess of 1,486, which is pretty incredible given the fact that the actual number of jelly beans in the jar is 1,486 jelly beans. Give them a big round of applause, everybody! Yeah, thank you. So when I was a kid, I started doing these little tricks and occupying my time with it because I was the only boy in our family, and I had 7 sisters. That's the proper response. That is good. We're going to have a meeting afterward, an intercessory prayer for myself. 7 sisters. I loved my sisters, but my sisters always had their own idea of what fun was. When you're a little kid and you're outnumbered, If you don't have your own ideas of fun, you start doing what your sisters think is fun. And if you want to know what that looks like, we have a picture. Can we throw that up there, the picture there? That's me. That's me at 3 years old. Don't worry, friends. I have some other ones I'm not going to show you. That wasn't the last time it happened. My parents would always play playing cards. My sisters would do fashion shows, and if I wasn't careful, I would get dragged into the fashion show. And so what I did is I started coming up with little illusions, and these illusions led to a collection that has become my passion. I told you I love wonder. Friends, the world needs wonder. Wonder allows us to see things through a different perspective, through a different lens. When we're constantly trying to figure out what's going on, we get discouraged. When we try to find out why things are going on and we don't look to the Lord and look through the eyes of wonder, we end up in a mess too. And so tonight I want to share with you my favorite item from my wonder collection. I think that as an adult, it's a healthy thing for you to not have life all figured out. To realize that you are not in charge, that someone else is. And I brought my favorite item from my wonder collection. Would you all like to see it? Check this out. I got this at a little boutique on the roadside one day with my dad. Somebody put a Rubik's Cube inside a glass bottle. Isn't that crazy? Check it out. It's like a ship in a bottle made by a hipster. Look at that. I didn't see who made it, but he has a handlebar mustache. I know that for sure. Friends, I had this sitting on my desk just to remind me that it's okay when you don't have it all figured out, but then I had this idea. Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if you could solve it while it was trapped in the bottle? Watch. That would have been so cool. Oh man, for a second you were like, maybe he can do it. I can't do it. I did bring one we can play with. Friends, I've had one of these ever since I was a kid because I grew up in the 1980s. Anyone else grew up in the 1980s? Yeah, can we bring that track up just a little bit so we can get in the 80s mood here? There it is. That's right. Some of you are being teleported back in time. I'll help you if you don't remember what it was like. Every backpack with the Trapper Keeper and the Peachy folders had one of these in it. Your lunch pail had the picture of your favorite TV show on the outside. On the inside, matching thermos, sandwich, Twinkie, and a Rubik's Cube. And everybody was trying to do the same thing. Just solve it. My best friend's name was Jesse. Jesse became obsessed with this. It was his passion. And about 4 months later, he actually did it. Now that may sound like a long time, but remember, friends, this is years before you could go on Google and just look up how to do it. Jesse had to figure it out for himself. And while he should have felt very proud of his accomplishment, he realized he didn't write down the solution. And so he became the most paranoid 8-year-old on the playground. He'd want to show it to people, but he'd be afraid they'd twist it up and ruin what he worked so hard to create. See, in life, when things are perfect, we're afraid we're going to mess them up. Good news for us, this one's already screwed up. Let's play. Okay, if I gave this to you, sir, would you be able to solve it? Perfect, without taking the stickers off? Good. I'd just love you to mix it up at your seat. Would that be okay? Just mix it up for me. Give it a few turns. What's your name? Tim, nice to meet you, Tim. Tim, in a moment, I'm going to try to solve that cube. So I need it to be random, okay? Make it messy. Once you get it about, 10 or 12 turns, you can hand it to someone next to you and let them mix it up. I'd like a few people over the next, say, 90 seconds to mix it up, and then we'll try to solve it, okay? Now, while they work on that, I will tell you some facts about the Rubik's Cube, because I know that's why you came to church tonight. Friends, that toy was invented in 1978 in a garage in Hungary by a gentleman named Erno Rubik. And when he invented it, he did not know two things. The first thing he didn't know is that he had just created the best-selling toy of all time. More of those have been sold than any other toy in history, including Barbie. The second thing he didn't know was how to solve it. Don't you feel better? The guy who invented it can't solve it. He was an architect. He wanted to design a structure that would allow every piece to move so independently that the combinations of possibilities became absolutely wild. Which brings me to my question for you. Not how do you solve it, but how many different ways do you think we might be able to mess it up? Tim, if you had to take a wild guess, how many different combinations might there be on there? Not even a clue. Just, it's a big number, right? It's a big number. Someone give me a big number. What do y'all think? I heard 10,000, 80, 800. Yep. 6 million. That is a big number. Okay, we jumped. How many of you think we might be a little off at 6 million? Yeah? We are, and you know why? Because 6 million is way too low. I'll tell you, but first, enjoy this moment. This is what wonder feels like. This is the longest you've gone without knowing information. Here you go. The number of ways you can mix up a Rubik's Cube is this number, friends. It's the number 43 quintillion. And then your next step is to Google the word quintillion. And you'll find this out. It's the number 43 followed by 18 zeros. That number is so big that scientists say if you took a Rubik's Cube and you turned it once per second, starting at the beginning of time, you would be going through brand new patterns right now that had never existed before. So the next time you see someone mess it up, congratulate them. They've literally done something no other human will probably do. Now we started here with Tim. Where did the cube end up? Where are we at? Oh my goodness, fantastic. And you've all had a chance to mix it there. What is your name? Jesse? Nice to meet you, Jesse. Jesse, you feel pretty good about it? You want to mix it once or twice more? Very nice. Thank you. All right, today I will try to solve the cube that Tim, Jesse, and all our friends have messed up. Give me a moment to memorize it. Y'all did good. All right, now the current world record for doing this is 4.3 seconds. That's pretty good. But, we're in Alabama. I got to go big here. I'm going to do it in the darkness of the bag where I cannot even see what I'm doing. Don't get ahead of me. Here we go. Count me down from 5, friends. Go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, a miracle. All 6 sides. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? Any questions? What was that? Any other questions? No, friends, if that fooled you, call an Uber. Look, they really messed it up. That's real messy. How many of you mixed this up today? So we started with Tim. Just show of hands, nice and high. Oh, wow, this whole section worked. Yeah, that explains it. Before I solve it, if you had to pick one, this one or the solved one, which one are you picking? This one? I heard it solved back there. Think about it. Most of our life is spent chasing this one. When we were kids, we didn't want our Rubik's Cubes to look like that. We wanted them to look like this. And none of us wanted our life to look like this. We wanted it to look like this. But friends, let's get real. Even though every day we wake up and we tell ourselves things like, all right, I just got to get it all figured out and then I'll be happy. Once I get all the pieces in the right spots, once there's no chaos or twists or turns that are out of my control, then I'll settle down, then I'll enjoy my life. Friends, none of us have a life that looks like this. What they've created, that is your life. And this is your Instagram story. Parents, this is the family vacation you post about on Facebook, and that's the one your kids survive. So look, in a world that's full of chaos where we look at everybody else and we feel like they're perfect and we're a mess, I could solve this cube, but wouldn't I just be ruining a valuable life lesson for the younger folks? You're like, just do it. Let me ask, Tim, if I try to solve it, what does a solved one look like? How do I know when it's done? Yeah, exactly. When all the colors are the same, when you have the green here and the orange there and the yellow there, but if you think about it, you're just comparing this one to the pattern of one you've seen before. And isn't it possible with all the cubes out there, maybe somewhere there's one that looks like this? Could be in your house or a junk drawer or a kid's backpack. Could be in a glass bottle. Can we get the camera on this? I'm just gonna grab this over here. Don't take your eyes off it. Friends, in the midst of the chaos, you got that cube to match perfectly on one side. Now that's a coincidence. But if you got it to match on a second side, but come on, they didn't stop. They got it to match on the third side. And they got it to match on the fourth side. And they got it to match on the top and on the bottom, all 6 sides exactly like it was supposed to be. Good job. Good job. Good job. Thank you. Now, friends, thank you. So the next time you start to get anxious about how things are going, remember, friends, your life is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a mystery to be enjoyed. Keep chasing wonder, yeah? I am so excited to be here with you. I can't tell you how much fun this is. I love getting to just spend time with friends and experience wonder. And it's been great to just connect with people and hear their stories. How many of you have had your life personally impacted through something that happened with someone else? Isn't that amazing how story has this ability to just transport us to another place and to show us what might be possible? You know, y'all, a lot of you are here because you know Bob. Bob's stories and the things that God has shared through him have changed my life. And I'm super excited to share with you all this. I finally, after years of wanting to do it and years of Bob telling me I should, I sat down and I wrote a book called Chasing Wonder. And I'm just convinced that in a world where we're all trying to find something extraordinary, that sometimes God does the extra through your ordinary. And that if you just learn to view the situation sometimes that you're in through the eyes of wonder, instead of always looking to try to be somewhere else than where you're at in the moment, that amazing things can happen. And so I'm excited about this book. It's coming out on September 14th. You can't get it anywhere, but I convinced them to give us enough that if you want one tonight, we have them afterward. Would anyone like this book? I'm gonna give this book away, yeah? What is your name? Rachel, I'm going to give this book. That is for you, for Rachel. And Rachel got baptized today. Yeah, Rachel. That is awesome. Who else wants one? Who else wants one? Yeah? Just they're unavailable. They're afterward, $15. I was also so inspired by Bob because, you know, he wrote his first book, Love Does, and decided to give all this money away to launch schools and to help those less fortunate. And so my family got together and we were like, what can we do? You know, and so what we're doing is we're also doing a little fundraiser. All the money that we raise from this book goes to support this incredible orthodontist who's putting braces on my daughters right now. So with that in mind, they make great gifts. Okay, y'all, can I tell you one more story before I get out of here, yeah? Okay, I'm gonna invite Megan if she would. Would you mind coming up, Megan? Also, Megan has afterwards, she has this CD of these songs that she's gonna share with you tonight. She hasn't released it yet, but she has it here. So we've been kind of waiting to give it all to somebody, share it with you. So make sure you get that afterward. And we got Megan's CD. I've got some DVDs. I got Rush Hour 2 and The Princess Bride, if anyone wants them. Be good. All right, I want to share one last story with you. You know, when I was a kid, my grandparents were the coolest people. To this day, I think the coolest people I ever met were my grandparents. My grandfather worked for McDonnell Douglas, and he built airplanes for Boeing. And it was absolutely incredible. It was the type of job you'd brag about on the playground. You know, we'd be out there playing and a plane would fly over and I'd be like, he probably did that wing, you know? My grandmother When she was younger, she worked for the Pacific Phone Company as a switchboard operator, way back when you used to tie the lines in by hand. And needless to say, when they retired, they wanted to find a place they could relax and settle down. And so they found this little piece of heaven in Southern Oregon called Grants Pass. It's absolutely beautiful. If you ever visit, it's right along the Rogue River Highway in Southern Oregon. And it's the type of place you go to hike and fish and whitewater raft. But my favorite activity was to sit and watch my grandmother start her day. She did the same thing every single day of retirement. She'd sit in a chair, she'd pour a cup of coffee, and she would work on sewing projects she had no intention of ever finishing. You know, it often puzzled us. Why? Why would you work so hard on this stuff without getting it done? And she would tell us things like, you know, every day you're gonna have tasks and to-do lists and deadlines that have to be met and things that have to be accomplished. Grandma would say you should have one part of your day where you just sit and you'll remember. You remember the places you've been and the people that you've met, the great experiences you've been blessed to have. And if you were smart enough to sit with my grandmother while she sewed, she would just drop incredible wisdom about life. Friends, one morning I walked in the living room and she looked up at me and she said, "Son," which was so confusing. Every woman in my family called me son. By the time I was 7, I figured out which one was mom. But she said, listen, she said, life is not about the moment you enter the world. You didn't get to choose that moment, did you? None of us, no person in this room or on this planet gets to decide when they're gonna show up, or what they're gonna look like, or what their family's gonna consist of, or where they're gonna be born. And if we're not careful, we can get so stuck on how we got here that we miss the whole point. Later on, she would say things like, life isn't about the moment you leave the world either. The way my grandmother measured a good life, friends, was this. How are you spending the moments in between those 2 points? And I watched her do this at an expert level. She was never too busy to turn off the TV just to ask you about your day. She tried to teach us as kids how we could live this way. She'd say things like, every day, you're gonna meet someone new, and just try and be a little kinder than necessary. If a good friend someday invites you to have coffee or tea, don't turn them down. Probably her favorite life lesson was this. If you're gonna make someone a meal, use real butter. Friends, my grandmother was not famous. There's no movies about her life. But every day we just sat and we just watched as she made the most of every moment. Every conversation was important. Every person was special. And I know that if you were to ask my grandma why she did that, she would just tell you that's just how Jesus would want you to treat people. And I can tell you for the rest of us, that way of being that she had, something about it stuck with us. And friends, if you choose to live this way, if we choose to care more about the person next to us and what they might be going through than our opinions of them that will change if we just give them a chance and get to know them. Those little moments that don't seem so significant, they begin to weave themselves together into an incredible life of loving others. So, we have so much planned that we want to share with you. I'm so excited to be here and crash the party. But friends, no matter what you do when you leave here tonight, don't stop chasing wonder.
The tide, it rose too fast for me. No anchor in the storm. I tried tried to give it all to you, but I can't get off the floor. The valley stretched too long for me. The end was never close. I tried to listen for your voice, but I only hear my own. But through it all, I have come to know that through it all, I'll never be alone. How beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, how beautiful. Your love, it chases after me. It finds me where I hide. The dark is just a place for you to overpower with light. Your grace has made a home for me. I'm finally running in. You offer love that shows it doesn't matter where I've been. How beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, how beautiful. I'm lifting my hands and I'm reaching for you. I know that you're faithful. I know you'll come through, and you're lifting me out of the place I have been. And here in your love, I know I can sing that I'm lifting my hands and I'm reaching for you. I know that you're faithful. I know you'll come through, and you're lifting me out of the place I've been. And here in your love, I know I can sing how beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, how beautiful, how beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, how beautiful, how beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, how beautiful, how beautiful.
Oh, are you enjoying yourself? Didn't Taylor blow your mind? Yes, absolutely. And hey, if you want to keep in touch, we would love to. Taylor's on Instagram at, actually, I wanted to tell a joke, dang it! I'm not as good as him, but at Magic Storyteller on Instagram, and I'm at Megan Tibbetts, and we would love to stay in touch with you that way. I post songs that you might recognize on the harp, songs that I've written also, But tonight I have a song to share with you that is actually only available in the back on this new album called Foundations that I came out with, honestly, just for you. It was a rush and a crazy thing that happened, but it is just for you. And so this song I'm about to share is on there, and we would love to stay in touch with you. This song that I'm going to share is called The Difference. And we all have people that we look up to, people that influence us, and maybe they're celebrities, maybe they're the pastor at our church, maybe they're someone with a platform. And I found myself thinking, wow, with some of these people that I respect, they have really big platforms, and I found myself thinking, wow, when I get, if I were to ever get a platform like that, then I could really do something to change people's lives. And then God reminded me. He said, Megan, you have a platform everywhere you go. Your family, your friends, your church. And I'm here to remind you tonight that you don't need the next step of a platform in order to do what you are wanting to do and influence people's lives. You are influencing the people that you walk into the grocery store. And say you had a rough day, but say you were able to smile at the cashier and ask them how their day was. And maybe that made them go home and be kinder to their family. Maybe you went to the drive-thru of a restaurant and you were kind when no one else had been. And that person, for the first time that day, felt loved or seen or heard. So what if changing the world wasn't quite as difficult as we thought it would be? This is called The Difference. We all want to make a difference. Oh, 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 we know that we were born for more than this. We see the lives of the rich and famous. Oh, oh, oh. Who am I? Just someone in the crowd. But changing the world might be simpler than we think. Maybe you could be the difference that someone needs today. Change somebody's future with something that you say. You might not stand up on a stage, you might not have a famous name, but maybe you could be the difference. Big world, I get buried in the problems. Oh, 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 my voice, well, could it be enough? Oh, but who am I to even think that I could offer anything that really changes how this world will be? Oh, changing the world might be simpler than we think. Maybe you could be the difference that someone needs today. Change somebody's future with something that you say. You might not stand up on a stage, you might not have a famous name, but maybe you could be the difference. Oh, somebody out there needs something that you're holding. Somebody's waiting for you. Somebody's life could be changed by what only waiting for you. Maybe you could be the difference someone needs today. Change somebody's future with the love you give away. You might not stand up on a stage, might not have a famous name, but maybe you could be the difference. Oh, maybe you could be the difference that someone needs today. Change somebody's future with the love you give away. You might not stand up on a stage, you might not have a famous name, but maybe Maybe you could be the difference. Maybe you could be the difference. Maybe you could be the difference. Thank you. So about 8 years ago, I had recently moved to LA, and I was trying to be an artist, and it was not really any takers, and I was getting my gigs off of Craigslist. Please don't do that. It was not a good idea. And I was working a job at a fireman's credit union, and I was sitting in the break room, and I picked out this random book from Barnes & Noble. It might have been the first book I ever bought, honestly. And I was reading it in the lunchroom, and I was reading about adventure and about taking risks and about a life that was full of purpose and full of meaning. And it inspired me. And it inspired me to really go after what I wanted. And my friends, that book was Love Does by Bob. And so I have the pleasure of bringing you up Bob Goff. Please welcome him.
Wow, great job. Hey, are you guys getting what you need? Don't we just need this as a family? It's just been rugged, and I want to just take a big handful of wonder and joy and hope and just remember who we are. In Matthew 13, it said that Jesus never spoke to anybody without telling him a story. Could you imagine going to dinner with him? So like, would you pass the potatoes? Be like, you know about potatoes. Be like, this is going to take a while. But what I want to do is think of the stories that have brought you here today. The things that have brought you, for those of you where faith is important, it's important to me. Some of you, it's important to you. Others are just checking it out. Some of you came because you thought there was free pizza. There isn't. But whatever got you to where you are right now, I just want to welcome you to just be fully here. The first time I went to Uganda, I pulled into this little village on a Jeep, and there's these kids playing, and so I played with them for a while, and it was time to go, so I got in the Jeep, and we're driving away, and I'm waving to the kids as we're leaving, and there's like 5 kids running after the Jeep, and so I started waving. I got 2 hands going, and now there's like 15 kids, and I'm like, oh my gosh, now there's like 30 kids running after the Jeep. And I asked the driver, I said, what's the deal? And here in America, this means like hi. In Uganda, this means follow me. And I think that's my problem with Jesus. I've been waving to him. He's like, follow me. I'm like, hi. But following him doesn't mean just grabbing some of this. It means giving some of this. You're building something beautiful together. You're building a community. It's like we're building a house together, piece by piece, board by board. Sacrifice by sacrifice. I ended up spending a lot of time in Uganda. Can you spin this one up, Jay? I ended up spending a lot of time in Uganda, and I ended up becoming the consul general for the country. Isn't that crazy? I'm not the U.S. diplomat to Uganda. I'm the Ugandan guy to the U.S. Isn't that crazy? I went into embassies, like, they're like, where's the Ugandan guy? I'm like, I'm the Ugandan guy. Like, you think the Rubik's Cube blew your mind. Like, what I want to do is introduce you to part of my life. This isn't working, our AV guy, so I'm just going to point there and you throw the next slide while somebody comes up and gets this going. But the flag of Uganda flies over my house. Isn't that crazy? When we get it up there, you'll see it looks like Germany got together with a peacock, but it's not. It's just the flag of Uganda. But my house looks like every other house on the block, but it's not. Because where the flag of Uganda flies and the consul general lives, it's Uganda. And we fly under the banner of Christ. And it changes everything, or it changes nothing. It can't just change a couple things. And I think that's the problem for me. I've been waving to Jesus. I've been saying to you, can you just change a couple things in my life? And he says, I want to change everything in your life. And I think when we get that right, we get everything right, but we get distracted along the way. Don't you? Isn't that easy? Who's prone to distraction? Like, I am totally. I decided I was going to get some jeans, and I thought they cost like $4. $5 if they were really nice. I just don't know what things cost. Oh, I went to get a pickup truck at the store, and I looked through the window, and it didn't even have carpet. It was plastic, and so I thought, I'll take it. And when I got to the pay window, they told me how much it cost. It was like, oh my gosh, like, heck no. So I got on Craigslist. And I got this pickup truck with 100,000 miles on it, and it's got a couple dents on it, but I got inside this thing, and I'm driving home, and it starts smelling like soap. And my nose isn't very sensitive to stuff, and I was like, ew, like this is crazy. And so I rolled down the windows. I thought I'm just going to blow this smell out of there. And I got home and nailed it. It was gone. I went inside. I went out the next morning. I opened up the door. It smells like soap again. I'm like, what the heck? And so I was supposed to go marry two people in LA. I was going to officiate. You can't marry two people, right? Go to jail. So I turned on the heater all the way. I said, I'm going to cook it out of here. And so 3 hours up, 3 hours back, I pitted out my suit and I nailed it. It was gone. And the next morning I woke up, I went outdoors, I opened the door to the car, it smelled like soap again. I'm like, oh my gosh. Now I'm like in this bender. And I don't even remember driving over to the upholstery store and I said like, just put leather, ostrich, anything in there. It just can't smell like soap anymore. And so I got there and 3 days later and $3,000 later, I arrived. I opened the door. It smells like dead cow and soap. And I'm like, what's that? I felt so distracted. I went up into the place to get my sunglasses and put them on and go home defeated. And you know what I smelled or found when I reached up there? 25-cent air freshener. You guys, I spent $3,000 fixing a 25-cent problem. And some of you are spending a weird amount of time trying to fix the wrong problems. The problem that we got to fix is right here. We need to get this thing right. When Marie and I had a couple kids, Lindsay was just the size of a trout. And I told her, there's going to be boys that are going to want to invite you out on a date. And I want you to ask them this when they invite you to the prom. Say, what's your definition of love? And because they're guys, they won't know. So send them home and say, when you figure out what love is, come back and tell me. And if they come back and say it's like butterflies, you can get that from bad pizza. Love is sacrifice and commitment. Say it with me. Love is sacrifice and commitment. One more time, let them hear you outside. Love is sacrifice and commitment. And if we get that right, we get everything right. You guys, that's why I wrote a book called Love Does. I want people to know that it isn't just goofing around. This one went to screensaver again. It isn't about just goofing around, but if it's about a life of sacrifice and commitment. Here, I'm going to toss this to you. I want you to hold your hand like this. It's about sacrifice and commitment. When Maria and I got married, they said the two will become one. And she thought we were going to become her. I'm like, oh, heck no. But here's the deal. I'm not trying to be like her, and she's not trying to be like me. We're trying to be like Jesus. You know what that takes? Sacrifice and commitment. You know what it's going to take to not be distracted in the midst of all of the crazy stuff that's going on around us? Sacrifice and commitment. Instead of just trying to fix all of that and getting distracted, what if we start by fixing this? What we need to do is figure out what's the big stuff and the small stuff. I brought this to kind of illustrate. This isn't COVID. Don't get one of these in your nose. Remember when you were a kid? What you would do is sometimes you would play with this thing. This is what we do with the problems around us. Sometimes we make a small thing out of a big thing. And sometimes we make a really big thing out of a small thing. Now, making big stuff out of small stuff, that's called catastrophizing. You just say, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And you know what it makes? It makes us distracted. And I think what Jesus invites us back to is a life of sacrifice and commitment. One that says, enter here, and what I'll do is I'll just start changing some stuff in your life. What I'll do is I'll use the power of love to change everything. And what he did is he used this book, but in unexpected ways. I got a call from the police in Missoula, Montana. They called up and they said, are you Bob Goff? I'm like, maybe. And they said, how come? And they said, there's been a drive-by shooting. And I'm like, oh heavens, why are we talking? And they said, no, don't worry. The person that they were aiming at, it missed them. It hit the book that they were holding. Oh my goodness. It hit the book they were holding, and this is the book. There, Love Does. Is that crazy? In your face, Hemingway. My typos stop bullets. But what we want to do is figure this part about sacrifice and commitment out in community. This is a place called Beaufort, Montana. Beaufort has a population of 1 person, and it's not going. So anyway, there we go. And it's locked. We're done. Okay. But what I want us to do is to get back to some of the things that only God can teach us in the context of community. If we can get that right, we get our bearings right. I was dreaming of sailing across the ocean when I was in high school. I wanted to do it in the worst way. Problem, I didn't have a boat. No problem. And so what I did is I scraped together some money, like $1,000, and another guy had $1,000. We bought this boat, and we entered the Transpac race. And if you know the Transpac, you start in Long Beach, and you sail to Hawaii, but you can't check your GPS. You have to steer by the stars. But we got the navigator off a destroyer to be our guy. We had our ringer. And 2 days before the race, they changed his orders. They made me the navigator. What a stupid idea. I didn't know the pointy end from the blunt end. So I went to the marine store and I said, I need a map. They're like, it's a chart. I'm like, whatever. I rolled it out and I got a yardstick and I put one end on Long Beach, the other end on Hawaii, and I drew a line. And there's a compass rose in the upper right-hand corner, and I steered that course for the first 1,700 miles of this 2,500-mile race. And the crazy part is there's a difference between true and magnetic north. Did you know that? And from here to the parking lot, it's like 1/16 of an inch. But from here to Hawaii, you miss the entire island chain. Is that crazy? Your first landfall will be Japan. And here's the deal. What we do sometimes, we get so distracted by minimizing, catastrophizing things that we miss our faith. We miss our family that's along the way. We get distracted. We go for what's magnetic rather than what's true. And the promise of Jesus Christ to the world is that he is true. Before you guys make too much fun of my crazy steering job, at the count of 3, I want you guys to point to where north is. I always carry a compass with me. And I checked out before we started where north is. Ready? 1, 2, 3, point. That's not bad. That's Mexico. That guy's pointing up the chimney. No, north is right there. Isn't that crazy? Nailed it. Yeah, but when I go to a room, it's easy for me to get a couple degrees off. And that's what happens in our faith. We get just a couple degrees off. What we need to do is answer the question that Jesus asked every blind guy he met. He said, what do you want? Can you imagine the blind guy? He's like, I'm blind. And Jesus said, what do you want? It's like, duh. I don't think Jesus was confused about that. I think he wants to know from you and me the answer to this question. What do you want? Church, what do you want? And if you want a Porsche, go get 2, whatever. But what if we want him? What if, like John 17, it's like you get to put a glass up against the wall and hear Jesus talk to his dad. He said, I brought glory and honor to you, by finishing the work you gave me to do. People of God, finish your work. And we can't work distracted. What we're doing is we got to not finish everybody else's work. Don't you finish her work. Don't you finish his work. Finish your work. If we get that thing right, hey, his prayer was that we would be one. Just like he and the Father one, that we would be one. And you heard how many different forms of Rubik's Cubes there are. Like, think how many crazy combinations of people in this room. And yet, oneness doesn't mean sameness. Every family has a nutty uncle and a lawyer. That would be me. But they have people as crazy as you. Have you noticed how difficult people are in the world? How really hard to get along with them? Here's the crazy part. You're them. This is an intervention. All of your friends called me. I need to tell you that. But if we realize that we're all a little prickly every once in a while, that we just have these insecurities. You guys wouldn't guess it, but I'm super insecure. Is that crazy? Like the happy guy, like the balloon guy, like super insecure? Oh, heck yeah. When I was a little, like I wasn't dressed up by 7 sisters, but I had like somebody really mean in my life. I have these freckles all over my arms, and they would walk by me, they'd call me Spot. And you guys, it hurt my feelings so bad. Yeah, now I'm not going to give you my sister's name, but every time Karen would do that, it just wounded me so bad. And then a person came along, and they kind of rolled up. I thought a magic trick was coming. They got their Sharpie out, and they said, let me connect these dots together. And I was the first kid in the first grade with like ink on both arms. She was making giraffes and elephants. And I looked at these spots and I think, these things are awesome. What I want to do is get back to that kind of wonder. I want to know, what do you want? And get real with that. But get this is a God who says right after, don't be afraid. He says, make your requests known to me. This is a God that says, I know before you ask for it. Well, I think this is about making your requests known to God. God, could you take my woundedness, my little spotted heart, and could you make something useful of it? What we need to do is realize some of the stories that we've made up. Little Bobby Goff made up a story when I was probably 7 or 8 because some stuff happened in my life, and I made up a story that everybody's going to leave me. And so for that added to this insecurity, because I was sure you'll leave, everyone I know will leave me, I'll be all alone. And so what I did then is I made up rules to support the story that I made up to explain what was happening in my life. And the rule I made up, don't go deep with anybody. Can some of you relate to that? And so what I ended up snorkeling my way through life. And Jesus Christ invites us to shipwreck dive. He says, can you go deep enough with me and deep enough together as a community here that we can really have something that we know we have to get and we're willing to give because we realize our deep dependence on Jesus. Man, I'm sunk without him. I got nothing. I just got a bunch of freckles. But with Jesus Christ, I can find not confidence, I can find hope. And that's what he promises. He wants us to have hope again. This is the definition of faith. It's Hebrews 11:1. It says this, hope is confidence in what you're hoping for, assurance in what you haven't seen. So when somebody says, I want more faith, I hear them say, I want more hope. I know in junior high school what I was hoping for, a date. I wanted a date in the worst way. Some of my buddies were getting them. I asked, no takers. Well, I thought, well, certainly in high school, I could get a date, right? 1, I wasn't asking for 100, nothing. I rolled into college. I somehow managed to squeeze 4 years of college into 5. Some of you know how to do that. I'm looking at you. So I thought maybe in college I could go out on a date. Nothing. Pick a round number. Nada. I was in my 2nd year of law school when I met Maria. She rocked in the room. I'm like, yes, You will be mine. She's been in the room 3 minutes. I'm picking out names for our kids. But she wasn't interested at all either. I'm like, what's the deal? I'm like, I don't know if I needed to bathe more. And this fed my insecurities. Are you getting it? So some of those rules that you make, then if we don't figure them out, they just keep rolling forward. And then you make more and more rules to support these bogus stories. And now I found out that Maria was going to go to this camp. She was going to work for this outfit called Young Life. She got 10 high school girls. They were going to be the girls' work crew. So I'm no dummy. I got 10 high school guys. And we're the guys' work crew. And the first evening at camp, there was an elderly woman. Then her pacemaker stopped. She face plants in the spaghetti. She's gone. Like, go to St. Peter, out of here. But I knew how to do CPR. And so I am pushing on her chest. I'm blowing into her wrinkled lips. It was not the first kiss I was thinking about. And she opened her eyes like full Lazarus, like it worked. And she was surprised. I'm surprised. I'm like, yeah. And Maria thought, this guy is not much to look at, but he could be useful in a pinch. What is it that you're hoping for? What is it that you haven't seen yet, but you feel an assurance about? That's what God wants us to do. He wants us to enter into these courts of his with thanksgiving, with this kind of wonder you experience. Take a big handful of that, but then enter in the world and give some of that away. Well, it was 34 years later and 3 kids. That Young Life put that camp up for sale about a year before COVID hit. And yeah, there it is. We got the camp. I got the girl, I got the camp, I got the kids. Well, but I also had the debt. COVID California shut down. We didn't even allow tumbleweeds to go through that thing. And so we're all alone in the camp, and it's like, I'm like, oh no, what are we gonna do? So you know what I did? I looked to what was adjacent to us. And I looked, there was a field. And in the field, there was an old barn. There was actually this old beat up racetrack for horses on it with weeds like 3 feet tall in this thing. So I got the field. I got the barn. I got the racetrack. And then we hired jockeys and trainers. We thought we could train other people's horses. Now, I don't know anything about horses. I don't know what end to put the hay in. But we got this thing, we got this head guy to manage the whole thing. And as soon as we had the barn fixed up, a lady called me. And she said, you want my horse? I'm like, of course, because it rhymes. And so we got this horse. This is the horse. It's called Lucky Bright Eyes. That's how much I knew about horses. I was brown with a black tail. But it turns out, I'm learning a little bit more now, it turns out that there's a month every year that's the month you breed horses, right? To make other horses, you send them, I'm going to say this, to get a special hug from another, when 2 horses really love each other, like so, get this horse is the great lady, let me give you, this is royalty. And what if God wants to surprise you in life and to say, compared to me, they're not. Let's keep the important stuff. We're not promised us. That's who I want to be. That's happen. But here's the deal. Tell Mary she's going to be a mom. And he's like, Yahweh. And so, but what if the angels are just dazzled as we're entertaining them unaware? Every time you take a deep dive into hope and say, I need a handful of that. Every time you give away a big bunch of it, what you got? There's something beautiful. We drop the facade. Otherwise, I'm just a happy guy with a balloon. I'm the insecure guy in desperate need of Jesus, and I need you to continue to remind me of who I'm turning into, not who I was, and who I'm becoming. I'm becoming love, and you are too, despite all of my insecurities, because I know where true north is. True north is his son. And if I can get that right, we can get everything right in our lives. What I want us to do is to continue to propagate that in our lives and the lives around us. Well, another thing I was hoping for, I wanted to be a grandpa. And it didn't seem like too much to ask, but like I had all these kids, and I guess maybe they need to talk to the horses, or I leave a book out, or I don't know, but I need grandkids. And so my son, he took his wife over to Hawaii. He called me up. He said, Dad, it's been raining all week. I'm like, yes! More wine to the cabana. Well, now I'm a grandpa. Oh, I've got some great news here. It was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and my next son took a knee. And oh, I see grandkids coming. I'm going to do whatever I need to do, and I know how to get into some mischief. So what I want to do is know what I'm hoping for. Have assurance in what I haven't seen just yet. I think Jesus Christ wants that of you as well. He doesn't want us distracted. He doesn't want another smell in there. What he wants us to do is smell himself, but we're worn out. It just happened. Now, Paul said this would occur. This is what he said to his friends. Let's not become weary of doing good work, but because at the right time, not like Bob time, that's first Babylonians. Like, no. At the right time, we're going to get a harvest if we don't give up. I don't want you to give up. I know, I've heard the news too, but I've heard better news. Then there's something that Jesus is up to in our lives. I didn't grow up in the church. I never went to a place like this. I found a Bible in the back of a bus. Somebody said, why don't you read this? And they said it was a good book. I'm like, well, I could use a good book. And then I started flipping through it. It was like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And it was the same story. I mean, like average book at best. But then God changed something in me. I stopped seeing these things as stories. I started seeing these things as invitations. Invitations to a mighty God that could say, could you bring me your insecurities? Could you bring me all the myths that you've been told, all the things that weren't said to you, all the confusion you had? My dad only has nine fingers. He never told me why. He's just like, this finger, the ring finger, is like mostly not there. And because he didn't tell me what happened, you know what the story I made up? I have too many fingers. I went through elementary school thinking I would count people's fingers. I would meet them and I'd make eye contact for a moment. I'd go like, when did they were 5? When did they were 5? And I'd count these, but I concluded that I had too many. You know, at Thanksgiving, when you make a turkey and you draw, my feathers weren't as long as everyone else's feathers. I folded my finger over because there was a story I'd made up and a rule I made to support the story. And Jesus wants to say, can we put the stories about who you were away? I came to fix that stuff. I want to replace that with just a ton of hope about who you're becoming. And it's just a bunch of people who know what sacrifice and commitment is. It means seeing a need and meeting a need. It wasn't far outside of Detroit about 2.5 years ago. There was a trucker on his way somewhere. He was as busy as you and I are. He had a place to go and a time to get there. But he saw a young man standing on a bridge on the edge, and he knew what was about to happen. And he didn't just pass by and wave and say, like, peace be with you. He got on the radio. He called every trucker going in both directions. They said, there's a kid about to make an irreversible decision, and this is what happened next. They all stopped. This is what they were saying to that kid that night. If you fall, you're not falling far. Alabama, I want to tell you this. If you fall, you're not falling far because the grace of God is going to support you, and we are too. That's the message of Christ. That's what hope says. And if we get that right, we get everything right. What we need to do is just stop being distracted, stop getting real with these myths that aren't real anymore, and just say, like, what's the truth? And the truth is that I'm in desperate need of God, and you might be too. My problem, I'm so amped. I make coffee nervous. Have you guys picked up on that? I'm like, ah! If I had some animal that kind of captured the moment, it would be like this. Like this is me. And sometimes facing the difficult truths of my life, maybe the difficult truths of your life, is very hard. Maybe there's something in your life that you're just ashamed of, something you did, maybe a relationship that went too far, too fast, maybe something that you're just ashamed of. You saw something you shouldn't have seen. I don't know what that is, but on your very worst day, with your biggest screw up you don't want anybody to know about, do you know what Jesus calls you? He calls you beloved. And if you're not hearing the word beloved spoken over your shoulder right now, it ain't Jesus talking. I don't know who it is. I got some suspicions. I just don't want us to be distracted by that. What we want to do is, like, I want to live my life in this city I saw on the way out here in Texas. This is the name of the city. Happy. I want everybody to be happy. And if I had a place I was going to live in Happy, it would be here at the Happy Center. You'll notice on the left is a drugstore. Just saying. Like, you know, one of the things that's crazy, when I got in this city called Happy, I found another city in Arizona. Do you know what the name of that city is? Y. Is that crazy? Check it out. It's 842 miles from Happy to Y, Arizona. Is that crazy? That's a long distance, but that's what we need to do every single day. This idea of following Jesus moves from wanting just happy to desiring holy. And you know what blows God's hairs back? You know what he loves is when we're obedient. He just loves radical obedience. Think of the message he gave to Noah, build a wooden ark. And he just delighted when Noah just started doing what he was told to do. And everybody else around him has said, like, you're nuts. But he's just like, God delighted in his obedience, but then God tests that obedience. Remember what he told Noah once it was all built and it rolled off the assembly line? He said, go get 2 of everything, start with 2 termites. What if Noah just said, like, no, I'm okay with a wood boat. I'm not going to start putting termites on it. That'd be a bad idea. And God says, what do you want? Do you want me or do you want your small plans? And I know sometimes it means like we're going in different directions, but I want to go to why. The reason why is our demonstration of our dependence on him. Man, we're being asked constantly to do some stuff that we don't want to do. I look across here, I see a bunch of people that are demonstrating real life sacrifice and commitment, caring for a community of each other. God bless you. You're going to get some heat for that. You know what? Tough. I want us to be the people that walk into the room knowing I've got my eyes fixed on Jesus and Jesus alone. I've got the why figured out. And I'm going to go for that. I'm not building consensus anymore. I'm building a kingdom. And it'll change everything if we do that right. The people that love me the most, I think demonstrated this in my life, were my grandparents. My grandfather lived just down the way from me. He worked his entire life, the midnight shift, on the docks in San Francisco. He was a fireman. But check this out. He never put a fire out. I don't even know if he knew how to. You know what he knew how to do? He made me a castle. Maybe you've heard. He painted it pink. He backed it up. It was as odd as saying build an ark. It wasn't like God told him to paint it pink, but he knew what a life of unselfish sacrifice looked like. He wanted to create something beautiful in me so I could create something beautiful in other people. Here's the crazy thing about my grandfather. He's on the left. I'm not kidding. I don't know if this is New Year's Eve or just Tuesday, but he was a guy who loved me really, really well, and he loved his wife. And there's something beautiful about that. Men and women, love one another. Certainly go and love the people that are far away, but love the people that are near you. Don't go to that drugstore on the other side of the Happy Center and medicate what you're doing with a bunch of like movement. Not far from our house, there's a street. I took a picture of it because Maria says, buddy, this is where you live. Activity Road. I just sometimes medicate my insecurity about who I am with just more activity. Can some of you relate to that? Can you chill out? Get a puppy. But watch, you'll be so busy cleaning up after it, you won't have time for the activity. What I want us to do is just slow it down a little bit and find a couple friends who will speak the truth to you. I had some friends that did that to me. We took 6 months of my life. They got some yarn and put it on a map coming from San Diego. This is what 6 months of my life looked like. You guys, I was off the hook. This is just Bob, like all this frenetic activity. And I don't care if you think you're serving God. I think what he wants you to be is present with him. I love you guys have that saying, be where your feet are. I love that, man. Live into that. Just kind of feel your feet, understand why you're doing what you're doing. And some of you can't always do that. We're just so balled up by all the things that we're anxious about for a God that says, be anxious about nothing, but make your requests known to me. What do you want? I want you to do this for me. Lift out your left hand, and make a fist. Okay, don't hurt yourself doing this, but I want you to pretend there's a penny in that fist. I want you to squeeze on it, like you're trying to squeeze a drop of water out of that penny. We're just gonna do this for about 60 seconds. It's happened to me that somebody will misunderstand me, and it'll hurt my feelings, and so I tense up a little more. You guys squeezing? I'll have something that happens that's terribly unfair. A relationship that'll go sideways, a feeling betrayed by people that you trusted. You guys squeezing hard? Half of you guys are afraid you're going to lose your job. The other half of you are afraid you're going to keep it. But we get balled up about these things. A boss, an employer, a teacher who wasn't fair to us. Can you feel that? Now, I don't want you to let go entirely, but I just want you to take the pressure off, but leave your fingers kind of tucked. Can you feel them, how they're kind of cramped up? Like, try to push out just a little bit. Is that crazy? And this is a God that says, I want you to move from here to here. And I think it's a small movement, but that's what we need to do right here in Alabama. Just need to move from here to be clenched up. You guys, I'm a lawyer. I win arguments for a living. You'd know if we were arguing because I'd be winning. But I'm not trying to be right anymore. I'm trying to be Jesus. And it means moving from here to here. When somebody, guys, have you ever gone through the day and realized that your unbuttoned shirt is one button off? I mean, sometimes two. And your collar's a little wonky. Like everybody else but you know. And I'll have people that'll say things that about God and faith and all that just don't walk like, like what? But here's the deal. I'm not an umpire calling balls and strikes on people. What I want to do is go full Paul. I want to test everything against Scripture. I want to know, what do the Scriptures say? And so what I'm realizing that the people that are like a button or two off in their faith are actually the ones that draw me back to my faith to actually start thinking about who I am and what might be possible with a God who makes these promises. So I'm not trying to point a bony finger at people and sort them out. There's a verse that some people are aware of in 1 Peter, like to be ready to make a defense for the hope that's within you. But then they stop there and they miss the rest of the verse, and it says, but do it with gentleness and respect. Boy, I'm telling you, if we can get there, what we'll do is we'll help people who see faith as this to start seeing faith as this. Because I want people to not meet my opinion. I want them to meet Jesus. And it changes everything when we do. You guys remember as a kid reading that story about Gulliver's Travels? Remember Gulliver gets washed up on the beach and the Lilliputians get him and they got him tied down. But you guys, these are like threads. He's one sit-up away from freedom. You guys are one power move away from freedom as well. What is it that's got you here? And what's it going to take to get you there? And I think it's going to be sacrifice and commitment. I think we need to build something new. I think we need to not get busy with activity. I think we need to build a house. I think we need to build a house that would be one that people would want to inhabit, that they would come and they would smell like the apple pie in the oven, that they'd start doing these things, that we would realize our place. Nehemiah 6, you guys know the story. Nehemiah is supposed to go build this wall, and so he goes. He's the cupbearer for the king, which is a great gig unless somebody's trying to poison the king. Then not so much. And so he's building this wall, and some people come to him to try to get his attention. What did he say? I'm doing important work, and I can't come down. I want us to do that, to realize that you're doing important work. A second group of friends came, and they said, people are trash talking you. They see you think you got everything all wrong. And Nehemiah said, I'm doing important work, and I can't come down. The third group came to him. I can't make this stuff up. They wanted to visit. It's like saying, let's meet at Starbucks, but it was a plane. It's called Ono. It's spelled O-N-O, but it's pronounced oh no. People that are like, oh no. I want you to say what Nehemiah says. Say it with me. I'm doing important work and I can't come down. Just practice one last time. I'm doing important work. I can't come down. And if we know what it is that we're hoping for, and what we have assurance in, even through all of our insecurities, that we're not going to catastrophize things, but we're not going to minimize them either. We're going to right-size them. And our faith is going to help us get there. If we follow what Nehemiah said, we're in great shape. There's a friend of mine. He used to play guitar in a little kind of bar band, and he got actually pretty good. When he was in his 20s, he met this rising country western star. Her name was Carrie Underwood. Pretty nice gig. And he started playing guitar for her and melting people's faces. And his name is Ed Eason, and Ed goes around for the last 20 years. He's been going around the world playing guitar. Well, they pulled through San Diego, and Ed called me up. He said, Bob, do you want to go to the concert? And I'm like, they had this sold out arena. I'm like, yes. And he said, I'll put a ticket out in front. I'm like, yeah, I can't afford one of those. And so I got to the Wilco. I felt like I got a Willy Wonka ticket. It's like, Bob. I'm like, yes. So right there with grandkids. And so I went up the stairs to the very top, and a guy with a flashlight looked at the ticket, and he said, buddy, you're in the wrong place. And I'm like, well, there's no further place other than the parking lot. He said, no. This ticket will get you down onto the floor. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I ran down the floor really fast. A guy meets me with his flashlight, and he looks at the ticket a couple times. He says, buddy, this ticket will get you into the mosh pit. Not sure what that is. But I'm like, let's mosh it up. And so I'm running out with my ticket to the mosh pit. I got everybody by 15 years in there. And two guys stopped me with their flashlights, and they look at it, and they look at it again. They said, buddy, you know what you've got there? It's an all-access pass. I thought I'd go back to Carrie's bus and make a sandwich. So I want you to know you have all access to Jesus. You get to bring to him your insecurities. You get to bring to him your fears. I've been to Africa, 50 times. I never take the malaria meds. I mean, what are the chances? You guys, last time I went, I got malaria. Nearly killed me. You know the awesome part? I lost 20 pounds. I forget Oprah's weight loss. It's just one mosquito. You're done. And so I'm fine after this whole malaria thing, but here's the deal. Reach out your right hand and hold it kind of level like this. Is that pretty steady? Yeah, that's pretty good. You could do surgery. You could do LASIK with that. Well, my right hand is sturdy, but here's the deal. My left hand, I've got a shimmer in it. I could whip eggs with this thing. And so I have no idea why that happened. But I'm thinking about the miracles that Jesus did. And the seventh miracle out of 37 that he did, he met a guy with a withered hand. You know what he said? Reach out your hand to me. You know what I've been doing, people of God? I've been reaching out my strong hand. Been doing that for 25 years to God. And I think the thing that's changing for me in the last couple of years, I'm reaching out my weak hand. I think if we'll get real with God, if we'll just say, I don't care what my faith looks like. I care what it is. What I want to do is something that demonstrates a little sacrifice and commitment. I want to get real about what I need. I want to get real about giving away what I got. And I want to get past all of the stuff that are distractions. I spoke at a university, and when I was done speaking, I got a text message. This is a text message. It said, you suck. I'm like, Dad, We're all going to have people that are sourpusses. You know, I'm always at Disneyland. I love that place. There's always some friend of yours, like this woman on the log ride, right? She's just, I ain't having it. You're not the average of your three most insecure friends. You're a child of God. And it changes everything, or it changes nothing. I just want you to get back to building that rocket ship that's supposed to be your life. I want to get back and not be influenced. I released this book into the world, and I'm so excited. First Amazon review of Love Does. Check it out. It says, huh? I don't get it. Love Does. Big effing whoop. Don't be influenced. That's a distraction. What I want to do is find true north again. I want to go back to the feet of Jesus. I want to say, help me find my hope again. Help me get real enough that I'm not faking it with this, but I'm doing this. But I'm doing it with confidence, knowing that I need you to help me be not a better version of me, but a more accurate reflection of you. And that's where it gets good in our faith. And I think that what God does is he uses these things in our life to rip through. For those of you that are familiar with farming, like what we'll do, you'll see the tractors pulling these spades through the top 18 inches of the soil and turning over that top 18 inches. And what grows underneath that, an inch 19, is a plow pan. And they'll send a big tractor like that with those rippers to rip through the plow pan. And I think for some of you, this is the last couple years. But if we want our branches to grow wide, our roots have got to go deep. I've got a vineyard, and the thing, it just seems so biblical. I'm a Dr. Pepper guy, but like all of the leaves that you see in a vineyard are so green, but the ground seems so parched, right? It's because the roots are 40 feet down. I want you to go deeper during this time. Get more real with Jesus to say, what do I need? And get real about it and patient in his time if we don't give up. What I want to do is to just to say over and over again, like I've got needs. There's 5 short poems I'm going to give you. And I want you to think that I didn't write it, but I think it captures the moment. Here's the first poem. I walk down the street, there's a hole in the sidewalk, I fall in. I'm lost, I'm helpless, it isn't my fault. It takes forever to find my way out. Here's the second poem. I walk down the same street, there's a hole in the sidewalk, I pretend I don't see it, I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It takes a long time to get out. Here's number 3 of 5. I walk down the street, there's a hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. I get out immediately. Here's the next one. I walk down the same street, there's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. And here's the last one. I walk down a different street. That's what this time is about for us. It's walking down a different street, saying you're a new creation, and not just thinking of that as like something nifty in a Christian bookstore that's like monogrammed on a hat, but to actually live into that. A new Bob, new day. And I'm leaving old insecure Bob, not to like replace that with a bunch of fake bravado, but to know what I want and know who I'm going to ask for it from. And then to surround myself with a couple safe people that'll help me get there. I teach at Pepperdine Law School. Can you imagine me teaching at a top tier law school? Like everybody passes the bar. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. I also teach here at San Quentin Penitentiary. I got 150 guys in my class, and they're going to be there for a minute. There's something beautiful about what I'm learning from these guys. They invited me. They were going to do a documentary, and they said, Bob, do you want to come do the documentary, and you want to pitch batting practice? Because they have a place where people are like bench pressing Priuses, and then in the middle of that, there's like a small kind of baseball field. And I said, like, sure, let's do this thing. And so I hadn't thrown a ball since high school, and there's a guy that's like actually a really good baseball player. He's probably pretty good at killing people too, but he's a really good baseball player. And I threw the first pitch. It went over the plate. I was like, the guy's got it. right? And then he crushed it. It was like a jailbreak. It just went right over the wall. And so I threw the second pitch a little harder, and he crushed it again, but it went over the plate. And now I'm getting it as hard as I could, hit him right in the head. Oh, pro tip, do not hit a guy who's in for murder and holding a bat in the head. And we had one of those moments. Are you charging the plate? And all the other guys that were like lifting weights are now like, they got their fingers to see what's going to happen. I'm telling you, Earth is watching you. What are you going to do next? What's your next courageous move? And God never compares what he creates, so don't you dare compare your move with somebody else's move. But I want to make a courageous move towards Jesus. I want to just say, what's our next move and how are we going to get there? We had a conversation with these guys afterwards, and we talked about what just went down. And he got an ice pack, and I changed my shorts. And there's a guy there, Al. This is Al. Al's been in my class for a really long time. Al actually had been sentenced to death. He'd been in death row for 38 years. He got to the day that his life would be taken, and someone else had picked the method and the meal and all that. Well, at the last moment, the court stayed this, and so the next day came for him to happen about a year later, and so he got to the edge of his end. And the court unwound still more of that. This is why he ended up in the general population and in my class. We became friends. And one day I got a call from him, probably 6 or 8 months ago. And he said, Bob, I need a pen. I'm like, buddy, you need an alibi. I'm like, and why are you calling me? Like, how? Here's the deal. The rest of the case had gone away. They walked him to the front gate of San Quentin. They put him on a bus, gave him a debit card, and sent him into the city. He went to the grocery store to probably get $200 of Twizzlers. And when he got to the cashier, she said, what's your PIN? There were no credit cards when he went in. And so I was the phone number that he had. What I want us to do is be the phone number people have. My phone number is the back of 2.5 million books. You guys, I get so many phone calls. It's crazy. I get 100 a day. I can't get a thing done. It's terrific. There's a young kid that calls me every couple weeks. He just cusses at me. And I'm a lawyer. I thought I knew all the cuss words, but evidently there's new ones. But we've never gotten at what he's mad about. But here's the thing. I end the conversations the same way every single time. I tell him, I will always take your call. I want to be the one guy who isn't trying to play fair. I want to actually act like Jesus, and Jesus was available. Now there's something that's beautiful about availability. It doesn't need to be the same for all of us, but it needs to be available to the right things. Sweet Maria Goff, she's available to our family. A small circle of friends. The rest of the time, she's kind of a unicorn. I just never see her, but she has availability to the right things. I want you guys to as well. Jesus was available. People pull on his shirt. He's like, who was that? Right? A little guy in a tree. He's like, lunch on you. He had time for everybody. And this won't cost you a nickel, but it'll cost you 5 minutes. What if you do that? Just get weirdly available to people and see what happens in your life. I talked to Al a couple of weeks ago, and he said, Bob, I'm getting married. I'm like, really, when? He said, tomorrow. I'm like, okay, get your fiance on the line here. Let's do some hurry up marriage counseling. I said, pretty much everything you've done in your life, don't do. And that got you sentenced to death. From here, what if we're a new creation? What if you create something new and beautiful with this lovely woman? And I think that's not far from the advice I'd give us, me included. Take all the things that created us with a death sentence, a separation from God, and leave that over there and move into this new life, a life filled with hope, a life that's so focused on what we're doing that we're not coming down. And we're not going to give up. And if we get that right, we get everything right. I spent all of this time in college trying to build a guitar. There was a guy with like really long hair. He looked like he was from the Doobie Brothers at so many levels. And so we built this guitar together. We shaped it. We put the top on it. We made the neck, the thing. The end of the year came and he got sick. Then I got whatever he had. And then he went away somewhere. I got kicked out of the dorms, another conversation. And it's now 42 years later. I'm up in the attic last month and I find this old guitar case. I open up and I see there's a guitar. The only thing it was missing is the fretboard. I got distracted for 42 years. And you know what I did? I brought it to this guy and I said, will you fix it? And a day later, he put the fretboard on and he said, like, play your music. I'd missed it for 42 years. Now, I'm not lamenting the 42 years, but I want you to play your song. We've heard these things from Megan that are just beautiful. Play your song. Be the next version of you. I remember John 17, I brought glory and honor to you on earth by finishing the work you gave me to do. So what's your work? Your work is to believe in the one God sent. John 6:29, that's it. It isn't to like do this or start this ministry or do whatever. It's to just believe in Jesus and then do whatever seems next what you want to do. But what we need to do is just wake up to who God has already made us. Over my bed in the castle I lived in, there was this priceless painting. Probably my grandparents got it for $3, including frame. And it's called The Bishop. And here's the bishop's portrait. You can see how the artist is puzzled because he's thinking, I wonder what that guy would look like if he was actually awake. And I wonder if God and the angels are wondering that about you and I. What if you fully woke up to your faith? If you said, I'm going to start living out this faith with sacrifice and commitment, I'm going to start seeing the things that are happening around me and just start doing something about it. You guys have seen the news about what's happening in Kabul. It was 3.5 years ago, I found out about what the Taliban was doing. They weren't letting little girls learn how to read and write. Oh, and that just chapped me. I'm like, no way, we're just watching that. But I didn't know anybody in Afghanistan. Do you? Yeah, so you know what I did? I got on my phone, I got on WhatsApp. I'm not kidding. I met this guy, he said he's from Afghanistan. I'm like, awesome, I'm looking. And we're sending these messages back and forth, but I don't know what team he's playing for. And you can't be talking to the wrong team for a host of reasons. And so I'm trying to kind of tease it out from him. I'm like, so how do you spend your day? When I say the word enemy, who pops to mind? Like, nothing. I went back to Washington, D.C. to meet the guys on our team that would know. And I said, do you know this guy? Here's what I got. They said, he's a good guy. That was it. I'm like, any more detail? Nothing. So you know what I did? It was about 3.5 years ago. I got on a plane. I flew to Kabul, Afghanistan to meet this guy. I get off the plane. I get a text message from him. He said, Bob, I can't meet you at the airport. I'm like, shoot. Actually, let me keep it real. I did not say shoot. Taking little baby steps. He said, what you need to do is leave the airport grounds and start walking through Kabul. And people, I do not blend in. And he said, you're going to find a car. The engine will be running. The last number on the license plate's a 7. Get in the car. Now tell me what you guys would do. Would you say like, I'm out of here? Or be a 7 on the Enneagram. What could go wrong? So I started walking. I found the car. I got in. This guy doesn't speak English. I don't speak what he speaks. And I get another text message from this same guy. You know, it turns out he's in the presidential palace. He's right at the top of their leadership. What he wanted to know, if I would trust him enough to do what he told me to do, then he'd trust me enough to build a girls' school, and we did. This is a girls' school we built. We got 250 little girls that are learning how to read and write. These kids are getting a shot at life. They're moving through the things that have kept them down, the enormous things they're making small because they've got a new belief in what might be possible. And I want us in Alabama right here to have that kind of hope. I invited 170 Afghan leaders to meet me in Kabul 2 years ago. You know how many showed up? 170. filled with hope about what would happen if they could change their country and people. That story is not over yet. These kids that are in college, this is another group of kids that are learning. This is another group of kids that are learning. These are 20 and 30-year-olds that are deciding we're going to raise our voices. We're building something important. We're not coming down. And the Taliban, the gates of hell will not keep us back. There's a ton of hope out there. I know that looks bad. I know it feels like this. But Jesus said, I make this before lunch. And if we could get that stuff in mind, then we'll just start trading like what is a fearful life for a real one. I got to start landing the plane here. We're scouting our second school outside in the mountains outside of this place in the north. And the people had been overrun by the bad guys. The Afghan soldiers ran away, as they do. But the people rose up, and they took all the tanks back. And this is what they did with the tanks. They painted them to look like ladybugs. That's what hope does. They say, I'm doing important work. I'm not coming down. I'm building something immense. And I'm starting with you. I'm going to start right here. I'm going to move from this to this shaky thing that's willing to reach out in authenticity and to say, man, sacrifice and commitment. I'm not going to go across the ocean. I'm going across the street right here in Alabama. I'm going to find a need. But first, I'm going to ask my need. What do you need? And are you willing to build the kind of thing that'll get you there? Megan, will you come up? We're going to play a song for us that I think captures this idea. What are you building with your life?
I'm building, but the walls, they take forever. I guess I painted over wallpaper instead of scraping it off. And I'm filling. Guess I thought it would be easier to cover up holes by hanging pretty things on the wall. I had to do a little bit of undoing to do it right. I had to do a little bit of unlearning to see the light. That I want to build a house that's sturdy and unshaken. But first I gotta tear down what I thought that I could make it. 'Cause the walls could no longer hold the weight of all you wanna put inside. So I gotta tear it down. Oh, 'cause I wanna build a house. I'm learning that I thought I knew the best way. You probably tried to tell me gently, but still I demanded I was right. And I notice that I know less than I did before. But you think that is beautiful, and you've been waiting for that. I had to do a little bit of undoing to do it right. I had to do a little bit of unlearning to see the light. That I want to build a house that's sturdy and unshaken. But first I gotta tear down what I have tried to make it. 'Cause the walls could no longer hold the weight of all you wanna put inside. So I gotta tear it
down. 'Cause I wanna build a house, a place where you wanna live, a place where you wanna stay, a place where I stop taking up all the space, and a place where you can move, a place you can redecorate, a place where I've addressed the things that need to change, and a place that you can use, a place where you will say, well done now, you've built me your house. I wanna build a house that's sturdy and undaunted. But first I gotta tear down what I thought that I had wanted. 'Cause the walls could no longer hold the weight of all you wanna put inside. So I gotta tear it down, 'cause I wanna build a house.
Got some hope? Ready to give that, release that into your community, across the way, with somebody who's difficult? The one smile that Megan was talking about, that you would shoot someone's way and it would change everything for them? I think that's where our faith, my career goal is to be a greeter at Disneyland. Like, that is the pinnacle. I got my application in. I'm shooting for Tigger because I'm kind of big. I might end up being Winnie the Pooh. Well, just see how much food I eat on this trip. But the thing about a greeter at Disneyland, they can't say a word. They just need to make everybody feel welcome. And how do they do that? Now, we're not going to be doing a bunch of that, but we can do a bunch of this. We can do a bunch of this. We can figure out what you need. But what we need is hope. What we need to do is not just keep things precious. That when the things that we actually need to pull this off are right there. We're going to start landing the plane. Do you remember that movie Castaway? Remember, he's stuck on the desert island? FedEx put this little spoof together. He had this one package that was so precious to him, and he was going to intent on delivering it. Check this out.
Hi.
Hi.
I was marooned on an island for 5 years with this package, and I swore that I would deliver it to you because I work for FedEx.
That's very admirable. Thank you.
Hey, but by the way, what's in the package?
Nothing really. Just a satellite phone, GPS locator, fishing rod, water purifier, and some seeds. Just silly stuff. Thank you again. You keep up the good work.
You guys got what you need. And what we need to do is to say it's all there, right? You don't need invitation. You don't need permission. If you are not following Jesus, if you're following from afar, you can just step a little bit closer to him. And you don't need a big fancy prayer to get there. You could just say, I'm in. He'll know what you mean. And there's something beautiful about that. There's a ton of hope there. Some of you have been following Jesus for a long time and you just got scared. You just started doing this. Is that relate? And all he says is just this little move right here. Just tell a friend, do not enter into this season isolated. Find a friend. You can call me. I'll answer. Even better, find somebody right here, because we're surrounded. Anybody want to opt out of that, to say, whatever you do, don't talk to me, I'm not interested. Could care less. Hearing none, we are a community. I want you to launch into that knowing that you're not running alone. We're going to end this evening with a little clip of some people, a community like this, that decided to show some people around them that they were not running alone, that they're with them, they are with them, they're with them. So what I want you to do is check out what happened at Echo Park.
Here comes the runner.
Could I run with you? Sure. Is that okay? Yeah. Hey, could I run with you? Yeah. Can I just join your jog?
Let's do it.
I'm just about done, but I'll go with you to the end. Okay, I'm Asia. Morgan. Nice to meet you, Morgan.
Morgan.
Morgan. 30 seconds.
They're coming towards you, Station 1.
First sign's going up. Now. Is that your name? Whoa, that's really lame.
Oh, did you hear that, you guys? I was just about to quit. And there are some of your neighbors, some of the people that are near you that are just about to quit. I think there's some people in a family this size that are just about to quit. I want you to keep these things in mind, and they come from Paul. Never, don't you dare grow weary of doing good works, because at the right time, we're going to get a harvest if you don't give up. I want to finish the work that God gave you to do. I want us to bring glory and honor to God by actually telling him what you need, and then not just hanging on close to that, but then giving some of that away. I want you to know that you're doing important work. You're not going to come down. You're not going to get distracted, and find your hope. You guys, it was such an honor to be with you tonight, and I just know all of us are just so with you. Even as we move along, we just have felt so welcomed. We could see that you're not just waving at Jesus here, you're just trying to follow him. And so stay on that course. Continue to support each other in that, knowing that we're with you all the way. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all again so much for being here this evening. In just a moment, we're going to dismiss by color section. If you'll notice at the end of your pew, you've got a color and a number. So when you see that color flash up on the screen, that's your invitation to leave out the back doors. Pay attention to that color. If we have a COVID positive this week, that's what we'll use for contact tracing. So many people to thank, but I especially want to thank Lisa Elliott, who did just an amazing amount of work to make this happen. And the last thing I want to say to you is, if you don't have a church family, we want to help you find one. We think this one's awesome, but there's a lot of awesome ones, and we'll help you find a place. But if you've been stirred in any way, If you are hungry for beauty, for wonder, for hope, for a place to practice sacrifice and commitment, let us help you find that place. Next week at this time, we've got a bunch of small groups starting Bob's new book, Dream Big. We'd love for you to join us taking part in that. You got a merchandise table out these doors or around this corner. Please take part in that. Now will you receive this blessing? May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon us all and grant us peace. And all God's people said, amen. Thank you all.